Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Craft Your Life podcast with Altenew. We are so honored to have the amazing Heather Hoffman from Pinkfresh Studio with us today. Welcome, Heather. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
How is your day so far? It's early where you're at. You're joining us super early today. So
it's early. This isn't too bad. This is 7 a.m. I've done stuff at like 5 a.m. and I don't really love doing that, but the fun of living on the West Coast, I guess. So
you're a very good sport at 5 a.m.
I probably don't look this good at 5 a.m.
Oh, I'm sure you do. I'm sure you look fabulous all the time.
Usually it's
so
like chugging.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, as you already said, my name is Heather Hoffman. I, for the past 3.5 years, I've been the creative director at Pinkfresh Studio. I was on the design team and kind of did some part-time stuff before. So I get to do a lot of weekly live classes and manage the design team and just kind of handle a lot of the boring stuff behind the scenes that isn't as fun and glamorous. But those are the great things to do early in the morning when you're sipping your tea and you're not really feeling awake and creative yet. So, and I live in Washington State, Pacific Northwest. So we're just hitting the rainy season, which I'm a true Pacific Northwester because I actually don't mind it too bad. It's nice for a cozy blanket and a book and a warm cup of something and sitting by the fire. So
are you a tea person?
Yes.
I love opposed to coffee?
Yeah, I can't stand the tea. I've tried and finally I was like, why am I even trying to? Tea is so much better.
And there's so many varieties. I mean, like coffee, there's so many varieties. You can find your perfect tea, which is a fun exploration because they're all so delicious.
Yes. I hadn't made my first cup yet this morning. So as soon as we finish, I'll be going to grab that.
Well, we're all very grateful for the boring stuff you do behind the scenes because seeing Pinkfresh, it's absolutely seamless and beautiful. Everything that we see on the other side, you guys make it look seamless. So thank you for that.
The side isn't as pretty, but yes, that's the goal.
Now, if you didn't get into this, what do you think you would have done as a job if you hadn't been a crafter?
I think the only thing I really considered doing when I graduated high school is I pondered being a teacher. And as it turned out, I homeschooled my kids. So I still feel like I kind of got to do that. And probably a lot more fun because it was just my own kids and I didn't have to deal with a whole bunch of other. But then I also see how that's even played into my job at Pinkfresh. So because it's a different thing that I'm teaching, but card making, in the live classes and stuff. So it's kind of fun how that's even kind of ended up being part of what I do.
I was going to say, kind of came true, because you are teaching amazing projects and designs to us crafters out there. So it kind of came true, which is really, really exciting. Yeah. What is your favorite project to kind of get your hands on and make? Do you like albums or cards or scrapbook layouts?
I think cards probably right up there at the best. I started off in scrapbooking when my kids were little and, you're scrapbooking all those memories. And I kind of just stumbled upon card making. And I always say, because I don't really do much scrapbooking anymore, but I feel like it's like dishes and laundry where you're just never done. And a card, you can sit down and start to finish. And then you have something beautiful that you can put aside and make something new. And I know you can kind of do that with scrapbook pages and layouts, but there's always that I have to keep up, or I'm running behind or whatever. And so there's something more relaxing about a card. And then you can just send it off to somebody and it's gone and out of your hands. And if you're good at doing that.
I'm horrible at doing that portion. I'm good at making them. I'm horrible at mailing them. That's where I trip and fall horribly.
I try and when I'm just randomly thinking of it, I try and just do it in those moments because I'm not good at just like, I'm going to plan and do it. It's just like, oh, I'm sending someone a package. I'll put a card in there just because.
I need to start doing that. Even if it's a return, maybe pop a card in there and say, thank you for processing my return.
Maybe we'll make someone's day, right?
Now, you're a fellow mom. So did you get most of your kids' youth scrapbook? The reason I ask is I had more pictures of the cats than my son. So I've abandoned his, and I'm going to start fresh when I have grandchildren. So how did you fare in that process?
somewhere up through like the early teen years, I started kind of doing it more
Wow.
digitally. Which I know I was gonna say because I was pretty um, just like I have to do this and I have to keep up. It kind of started moving to digital. Maybe it was more like 10, 11, 12. I don't know. It was somewhere in there was where it kind of started to change. And I started doing just like the digital project life where you did it all on your phone screen because by then, most of my photos were on my phone anyway. So
Yeah.
it was just a little more convenient than trying to get them printed. And then they were just all there. And then I could just get a 12 by 12 printed and slide it in the thing. And when I was traveling or, on road trips or anything like that, it was a great time to kind of catch those up and get those done. So
I'm
then it kind of just petered. So the last few
I'm
years, are
super
just
impressed though. That is wow. That is impressive to me as someone who got up through like one and then
yeah,
kind of fell off. But it was harder back in those days because you had to have photos printed. You had to go pick them up. It was like a whole process to get a picture. It wasn't like you just snap it and print it at home in like, 2 minutes.
yeah.
It was a
Well,
process.
yeah. And I look back at those now, and I'm like, oh, those, but they're still there, and they're still the memories. Some of them, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's not, is how I would do it now. But at the same time, I'm like, it's there, it's done, and
Yeah.
it's something that can be pulled out and looked at, and so yeah,
And I think it's even like your cards, though, when you look back at them, like if you had the same supplies today, you probably wouldn't make the same thing. And you're kind of like, oh, goodness, I'm a
yeah,
little shocked by what I made. But it's good because it's part of your journey, and it
exactly,
shows. Yeah.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
it's
for sure.
at Altanu, we have the AECP where we have our educators go through. And I know I look back now at what I submitted and I'm like, whoa. So we all look at our own work too, I think, and we're like, oh goodness, that's wow.
Yeah, yeah.
How did you find Altenew?
I was trying to think back and because it's just, I feel like I've known about them forever. I think when I first found out was the layering floral dies. I think that was the first thing I saw, like the rose, the layering stamps, the floral
Oh,
layering stamps.
stamps.
The dies came a little bit later, but I'm trying to remember what that first set there was just like I don't know, it was just really unique in the industry at the time. And I remember just starting to kind of collect those early on in my card making playing. So I don't remember exactly when it was because there's just all those blur of years, but but I do remember that's what I found first.
What is your favorite, like, what do you love most about working with Altenew products?
I feel like the florals. I mean, we all love florals, and so
Yes, we
I
do.
know Pinkfresh we're a lot the same, and I think that's why it's fun this November event that we have where we're kind of combining our efforts because I think there's a very strong floral influence in both companies. So
And this will come
yeah.
out right after that collaboration has ended. So we get
Yes,
to give our amazing participants and customers a little bit more of a collaboration between Altenew and
that's
Pinkfresh, which is very
right.
exciting because it's
Yeah.
been such a beautiful process working with that kit, and what you guys have come up with has been absolutely amazing. So,
Yeah.
what is your favorite thing about collaborating?
Oh goodness. I think it's just fun when you have two companies and you can bring the strengths from both companies. And even if they're similar strengths, it just kind of helps, kind of like in anything, collaborating with another person. It just makes you stronger. Being able to connect with someone else and do something together collaboratively. So, yeah.
And I think our industry is very unique in that we do collaborate together in the crafting industry, whereas other industries really don't. They're kind
No.
of one for all, and they don't want to share together. But in this industry, we really are a community and love to collaborate and share ideas and make each other
Mhm.
better in whatever ways we can and help each other in whatever ways we can. And I think it's just an amazing industry that we have.
Yeah, for sure.
Do you have any other crafty hobbies?
Little bits, odds and ends. One that I've recently picked up just in the last few months is embroidery, and that's just kind of been a new, fun, relaxing, um, just kind of in the evenings or the afternoons when I have a little free time. I found I really, really love that. So yeah, I
Do you
enjoy
do
that
like
one.
little scenes or you do like the big? My uncle used to
Um,
do these huge scenes and I was like, whoa.
no, they were just a couple like kits that were all kind of like prepared and ready to
Yeah.
go, and then the last one I did actually was a Pinkfresh floral stamp that I traced onto, I stamped it in black and then I traced it onto my fabric. And then I just like free embroidered, picked my own colors and did everything. So that was just like a really cool, like to kind of connect the two hobbies a little bit too, like pull out, a stamp set and turn it into an embroidery. So that was super fun.
And that's so everybody listening, now you have another outlet for those stamps that you
Yeah.
have at home. That would be good. I don't know. I wonder if you could do it with you probably couldn't do it with a die. I'm trying to think, like we have those
I mean,
layering
just,
dies. I don't know.
yeah, I'm sure. I mean, because I did it, I traced it. I didn't want to, because the pen I use, it erases with heat when you run your heat
Oh,
gun.
gotcha.
So I didn't want to stamp it and have it stay on there. I wanted to be able to get those lines to go away when I finished embroidery.
Yeah.
So you could probably, if you traced the layers of the die, you could probably make that work. But I don't know. Stamps are the easiest probably because you
Yeah.
get that out.
Gotta add that degree of difficulty to it.
Yeah. Why make it more complicated? Use those dies for paper. That's good. Or you know what? I bet those dies would be fun. The layering ones with fabric or felt or something like that too. You guys have
Even
probably
if you
done
could,
that.
I'm thinking because like you guys have beautiful background dies as well, and you could even trace that, like cut it, trace it, and then embroider. That would be really pretty. You could create a embroidered card even. Wow.
Yeah, I
I
don't know. I
didn't
might be
even
able to give
connect those two.
that would be like, I can't give this to anyone because what if they throw it away? How much time I
That would
spent?
be, yes, that's a very exclusive card list that you give an
Totally.
embroidered card to. So
A lot of people do stitching on them, but like a full on, like that would be a
that
lot.
would be that would be a lot. Yeah.
You better
How
feel
does
loved.
Yes, yeah, that's like because I have those where I have cards that, really either I struggled with, like they were the struggle bus and they took a lot of time, or just cards that are very involved. And so that
Yeah,
has a special card list. And then there's a card list for everybody else that if they throw it out, I'm not heartbroken, but
yeah, yeah. For the most part, I kind of figure, you know what, if it brought them 5 minutes of joy and they throw it away, it's okay. I
it
know that it had a purpose. So,
it did its job. It gave joy.
yeah,
I remember Nabil had said in a podcast, and this has always stuck with me. He's like, in our industry, we are the people that get up every day to do something for somebody else. And we do. We make cards to give joy to others or comfort.
yeah,
So it is another unique thing about this amazing community we're in. Now,
yeah.
how long have you been crafting overall?
Um, well, I grew up in a family where crafting was, I mean, not specifically card making, but I mean, my mom sewed and so when I was a kid, I learned to make quilts. We sewed clothes. I remember painting. I was never that good at that. I made like these little crafty dolls that I actually sold at craft fairs when I was little out of just scraps of fabric, and they were little yo-yo dolls. Now I look at them and I'm like, oh, they're so creepy. But they were like such a thing. My mom had them all over the house and kept them all. So really, I mean, card making um, really was probably around 2010 that I really started getting into card making. But before that, I kind of dabbled in a lot of different things. So
Now, do you still make quilts?
no, no,
Forget you.
I kind of decided. I mean, embroidery is like that's an easy one, like to sit and do. But I remember my mom was always like, "You should do this and this and that." And at the time, I had young kids. I was homeschooling. I was like, "I've got time for one hobby. One hobby. Card making's it. That's what I picked." So that's it.
It is the quickest of them all, I think. I think card
It
making,
is.
and you can leave it in the middle and come back. And sometimes
Yeah,
it's better because you're more inspired when you come back to finish the project. So it's,
it's true.
quilting is a lot of stuff. Like that's where I love quilting. I love it, but it's so much. I mean, I say that and I'm sitting in a room surrounded by card making supplies, so I feel a little
Yeah,
odd saying that, but I don't leave my quilting stuff out, I guess, so having to get the
yeah,
sewing machine and the fabric and the iron and the ironing board, and it just keeps adding up. So, yeah,
yep.
but they are beautiful in the end.
They are.
So it's nice
True.
in the end,
I always
and it's always fun.
I appreciate a handmade quilt, but not really interested in putting the time into it.
I made one back in the day. I used to make photo quilts for my family members.
Oh,
And the first one I made was for my mother, and my stepfather sat on it, and apparently I forgot a few pins. So
Oops. My mom made a
there's
quilt for me and the same thing where I was laying on the bed one time. I was like, oh, what's that? That's not
It's
fun.
one, no, one of the downfalls of quilting, I guess, is that you got to make sure you get all the pins out.
Yes, for sure.
So, do you have a favorite technique right now that you're just like you can't stop doing it?
Um, well, I mean, we just came out with some new ink colors, so definitely
Yes.
pushed back. I mean, not that I've ever stopped loving stenciling and ink blending and all of that, but that's been kind of like breathed some fresh new life into that. That's super fun. So hot foiling's not going anywhere. That's still up in the top
Yeah.
favorites there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Now, do you think you'll ever? You mentioned watercolor. Do you think that's something you'd ever want to work on, or are you kind of just like?
You know, I've done it a little and I've played with it. I wouldn't say that I'm um, really great at it, but it's one of those things that I really do love. And we are coming out sometime soon with liquid watercolors again at Pinkfresh. So that'll give me a good reason to like, I'm going to have to play and figure them out a little bit again. So,
And a
but I do,
surprise.
yeah, we've kind of sort of mentioned it. I don't know the exact release date, if it's going to be towards the end of the year or early next year, but they will be coming out soon. So,
And watercolors, so I always find it's like so therapeutic. If you're having one of those like
yeah.
chaotic days, I find ink blending kind of lends the same kind of
Yes.
feeling to it. Ink blending and watercolor, I find, are very soothing and very good for self-care. So
Yeah.
it'll be
Yeah.
good to have those back where you can
Yeah.
do them frequently.
Hmm.
Do you have any other techniques that you're kind of like, I haven't done them in a while and I might want to work on them? Or,
Well, I feel like I've gotten lazy with my coloring and markers. So, and every once in a while I pull them out, but layering stencils have kind of changed that and turned me into a lazy colorer. So every once in a while I do, but most of the time I'm like, oh, it takes so much longer. So it is fun to pull them out once in a while though, and just kind of refresh that a little bit. So
and even
yeah.
with dyes, a lot of times the blending is so fast. You can start with any color paper and you use beautiful inks and you get, such a wonderful result. So that's another thing that it's so quick. And it's, yeah,
Hmm.
and a lot of times card makers are in a rush. And I don't think
Yes.
it's just us. I think it's also, all of the people out there, the same thing. Like they need a card in like 20 minutes because their husband's like, oh, hey, by the way, it's Bob's birthday. Can you make a card? I don't think folks that don't make cards understand like what goes into making a card. Like it's not just you sit
Yes.
down and in 5 minutes
Slap some
you come
paper
up.
together. Yep.
Once in a blue moon that happens, like you go into your space and you work with a set and you're like, wow, that was like 10 minutes, perfect card. I love it. But
Or you have leftovers from another project and they all kind
yes,
of end up working together. And that's always the lucky moments when you need that. But
are you good at using your leftovers?
I try. I keep a bin of them really good. And you know what? I never feel bad about if I don't use them because I have some young nieces that love card making and they do it a bunch too. And so they're always like, do you have any new stuff for us, Auntie Heather? Do you have any? So I kind of keep it in a pile. And when some of them collect and I feel like I'm not using them well or I have too many, I'll just package them up, take them to them. And it's like Christmas and they're so excited. So I feel like that's the perfect solution for anything I don't use. But I really do rifle through those a lot and pull stuff out and use them. Like if you die cut something, then it doesn't work on what you think.
Yeah.
So it probably will work for something else.
Now, do you make sentiments ahead or do you kind of make them as you go?
Those generally are as I go. But sometimes like if I'll do one and then it doesn't work, then I'll set that aside and save it and I might pull it out and use it later. Hot foiled sentiments, I definitely do those ahead because sometimes you don't know which one you want to use. And if you've got the
Yeah.
hot foil machine out, you might as well just do a bunch and then they're all ready to go. So
I do. I like to have hot foiling days where I have a
yes.
day where I just grab all the dies, whether they're sentiments or they're, actual images or backgrounds, and
Just do a
I
bunch.
foil
Mm-hmm.
my heart out.
Yep.
Those are
No,
fun days too.
preferably not a hot day. To
No,
stand up.
it is shocking how much heat is generated, A, from a heat gun and B, from a hot foil machine in the
Yeah.
summer. It really, you don't realize it till you turn it on. You're like, oh my goodness, this is really temperature
Yeah.
difference here.
For for sure.
Where do you find what are your sources of inspiration for you?
I love Pinterest. I mean, I feel like a lot of us in the card making industry love that. Instagram is another great one, just like scrolling through. I love looking through even some of my own older projects. Sometimes there's just something that I'm like, oh, there's this new set or this new paper or this new color ink or whatever, and I can kind of recreate that and give it kind of fresh new life. Honestly, I feel like out shopping, out in nature, like there's, you see color combos in a sunset or, wherever when you're traveling, it's like, oh, I need to remember that and take that home and put it. So really it's kind of a little bit of everywhere for me, not super one specific area, but I'm always like, it's in the back of my mind, I feel like a lot. So
And I've noticed because we work with florals a lot, with our two
yeah.
companies, we work with a lot of florals. And, in our world, when you're out and about, whether you're at the doctor's or even on television, I saw this Hawaiian shirt that was gorgeous last night. And the colors I would not have put together. And I was like, whoa. And I feel secure because somebody has analyzed those colors. They go
Yeah.
together. So even though I wouldn't have put them together, apparently they're okay. So I
Yeah.
think that's great. You're watching television and you're working too. You're processing, you're gathering color combos. Do you have any other color combo magic? So any other place I know that's what a lot of people struggle with is getting a good palette to kind of
Yeah.
start working with.
Um, I'm a big proponent of swatching your inks because I feel like, the initial when you stamp them out or ink blend them, sometimes they can look a little bit different than when they've settled in, especially if you're working with dye inks, because they take a little time to dye the paper and they smooth out and then they soften a little bit. And so I'll a lot of times just pull out my swatches and I just recently did and I love to kind of mix and match colors. So I did a couple cards in a live recently, and I mixed together kind of a dark emerald green and turquoise on the leaves, and just random things like that that you don't really maybe expect to see in nature, but it works so beautifully. And so I always just say, kind of play and be brave. And just when you kind of look and go, well, those look like they blend well together. Let's just put them together on something
Yeah.
or do it. And sometimes you come up with some really magical combos that you wouldn't have. And it doesn't have to be limited to what's realistic in nature. Sometimes it's like
No.
that's the magic we get to make on a card is we can make it look different than you would see in nature, but it can still be beautiful. So
We make our own world in crafting, and I think that's the
yeah,
great that we have rainbow leaves, we have brown. And do you like brown leaves, or are you not a brown leaf kind of person?
I love those in the fall. I think that that's
Yeah,
a really pretty look for like that fall. Yeah, no, for
yeah.
sure.
I love to put like
Yep.
oranges and browns in the fall, and it's
Mhm.
I now. Do you guys have good foliage in Washington in the fall or? Yeah,
Yes,
okay,
yes.
because we have great in Maine. I'm in Maine. We have great like foliage. We actually
That's
have tours. Like we have really good
that's a bucket
foliage.
list for me to hit the East Coast sometime in the fall because I think it's particularly beautiful. But yeah, we do have some really good. We just took a drive over the mountains a week or two ago, and we really get to see it. So that was beautiful. We really enjoyed that. So
And it's yeah, we I was watching a program while I was recovering from surgery, and they showed, and I think it was out west. They showed like the tops of trees, and I'm like, that could be a painting. So I
yeah,
paused it and took a picture with my phone, and my mom's
yeah,
like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "That's inspiration."
yeah.
So,
Always.
because we just came out with our watercolor tubes, which is very exciting. So I'm like, that could work perfectly. So it is
Yeah.
funny, the strangest places you're not expecting to do this. But I think we see the world a little differently as card makers. It's always you're not constantly. It's not the front of your brain, but it's in the back there somewhere. Like, ooh, that could be a good card.
That would
So
work. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
and that's great. You have your nieces. I love that we have another generation coming up. What's
Yeah.
their favorite thing to do for crafting?
I feel like every time they come over, because I've gotten them a die cut machine, so they have that. So they love to do embossing. They love to do die cutting, stamping, coloring, stencils, like with mist, all the messy kid stuff. But then and then one of my nieces, I got her on alcohol inks, like just doing the blending the
Oh,
backgrounds, and they love that. Again, it's kind of that messy fun. And I've showed them hot foiling, and they're both like, "Oh, I want to do that. So at some point I'll probably have to find a way to pass the machine their way so that they can start doing that too.
I guess it means you'll have to get a new one for you and then down,
Right.
pass it down.
Exactly.
Pass it down the way. But it's fun that we have upcoming generations of kids that are interested in card making, especially something we're so passionate about and we love so much. It's
Yeah.
amazing to be able to share that. So now,
Yeah.
were your girls card makers?
They did it a little, like they'd make one for something, but that was never as much there. I think that's mom's thing. And I never, wanted to push them too much to do. They've played with some stuff and done a little, but my youngest is a little more of a reader. Like she'd rather get a Shakespeare book for fun to read, or like an old classic that I look at and like she read War and Peace one summer just for fun, and and she went to buy it. They're like, "Oh, is this for school?" No, just for fun. And they kind of looked at her like. And then my oldest is more digital art. She's going into graphic design, so she draw on her iPad and do that kind of stuff, which is far ahead of my skill set. So I just admire that.
Yes, we were talking before. We were more typewriters and word processors in our generation. So
Yep, very
and learned
different.
and learned we're both older than Google. So my son was the same way. He would go to the bookstore, and I would never say no to books because books. And
Right.
he had like biographies on George Washington and War and Peace. And my dad would like show everybody, he'd hold the book up and it's like this tiny print that you can barely see. And it's,
Yeah.
like 6 inches thick. And he's like, he's reading this for fun. And look, there are no pictures. Like, everybody, there are no pictures in here. This is for fun. So yeah, my son is the same way. I was very
Yeah.
popular at project time though. He was definitely in my office a lot when it came time to school projects. Because he's like, "Do
Yeah.
you have a stamp
Yes.
for this?" It's like, "Yes, I
Yep.
do." So,
As a matter of fact. That's
so we
awesome.
have a fun thing that we do towards the end of the podcast where we have a random word generator and we tie it to crafting. So some can be tricky. It could, like I said, be mango or elephant.
We'll see.
So let's see what the random word generator comes up with today. So this one's good. The first one we have is artist.
Oh, well, I feel like that one's easy because that's part of card making is you are an artist. I know I used to say that I can't draw or sketch or anything. So I was an artist and everyone's like, it doesn't matter if you're using stamps and dies and stencils, you're still an artist. So, yep.
And that's good to tell everybody out there. If you are
Yeah.
card making, you are an artist. And so keep that in mind.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot lately of people posting their first cards, and how exciting is that? Like
Yeah.
it's so exciting to see the first card, and they're so good. Like you wouldn't know if they didn't say it was their first card, you'd have no idea that it was
Yeah.
their first card. So it is, and I'm the same as you. I can't draw a stick figure with a ruler.
Nope.
I always say Altsnu makes me look good because
There you go.
I couldn't do it on my own. It would be very, very sad. But I'm getting more confident, I think, as time progresses as a card maker, where maybe trying freehand watercolor or maybe trying this and I think it builds up over time because you see, oh, I can do this, and you get
Yeah.
confidence in things. So, I think that's a good thing. Your
Yeah.
second word is mood.
Mood. Oh, well, I guess I definitely would say my mood does affect my crafting because sometimes, and like I said, that's the great part about my job because sometimes, like early in the morning or when you're just not feeling creative, when you're tired or worn out, I love going to do the admin stuff, maybe editing photos, writing up a blog post. And then when that inspiration or that moment strikes where you're in the mood to go craft, you can go do it then.
That's a good one. So far the words have not been too bad
Pretty
today.
easy. Yeah. But wait.
One time I got legislature. Had to tie that
Oh,
to
goodness.
craft. Yeah.
Don't say that now. That better not be the.
Your final word. And so the random word generator it must have been in a good mood today. Your final word is beginning.
Oh, well, we were just talking about new crafters and everything. And I think if it's something that you're pondering getting into, there's always a time for a beginning, and jump in and just pick something and start playing. And I don't know if that does a good enough job of relating, but that's my best first thought.
I think so. And that's great for beginner. Do you have any advice for advanced or, crafters that have been doing this for a long time?
I just keep saying, just try something new. Keep stretching. There's always new things out there. Even if it's just picking a new color combo or stretching and combining something different that you never have before. I don't know, just keep stretching and trying new things, because you might discover something new. Like, I was resistant for the longest time to hot foiling. And then I finally started and I was like, why did I not do this before? Because it's so addicting once you get into it. So
it's like, where have you been all my life? Like,
I don't need something else. And then I did, and I was like, I need this.
That is the thing, though. When something new comes out, we're like, I don't need this. And then you use it and you're like, okay, yep, it was missing from my life. I don't know how I survived without this. So it just takes us time to get on board sometimes. So
yes.
Well, thank you so much for making the time with us today. It's always so fun to get to know a little bit more about crafters out there, and especially where we just had the amazing, it hasn't happened yet, but I know it's going to be amazing, collaboration event with Pinkfresh. So thank you so much, Heather, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
And we look forward to seeing you all next time. Don't know who the guest will be. So make sure you tune in to see who we chat with next for the Craft Your Life podcast with Altenew. And everybody out there, don't forget, and I think Heather will join me in saying this, you got to craft your life, my friends. And we'll see you all very soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and everywhere you can find podcasts to keep up with every new episode. Email us at support@altenew.com with your feedback. And don't forget to craft your life.
Hello crafters, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to see more, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching!